Chosen one, listen carefully. This is not the end of a message. This is the beginning of a revelation that will echo in your spirit long after this video ends. Your life is not ordinary. Your journey is not random. Your battles are not meaningless. You carry the seal of heaven, stamped by the hand of the Almighty. And because of that, everything that rises against you is not really rising against flesh and blood. It is rising against the throne of God Himself. That is why no attack succeeds. That is why no curse prevails. That is why no enemy escapes the justice of the Lord. Whoever blesses you connects to rivers of abundance. Whoever honors you steps into favor. But whoever despises you, whoever mocks you, whoever tries to destroy what God has placed inside of you, touches the fire of judgment. These 7 punishments are not just ancient words. They are living proof that heaven defends its chosen relentlessly. Dryness, ruin, isolation, dishonor, sterility, bitter harvest, and the final judgment. Each one is a trumpet blast, declaring that God's people are untouchable. Your enemies may laugh for a moment. They may celebrate in their pride. But remember this, their laughter is short-lived, their celebration is temporary. For God always has the final word, and His word is unshakable. You are not just surviving, you are a testimony. Your existence proves that light cannot be extinguished, that destiny cannot be stolen, that favor cannot be broken. So rise with boldness. Walk with courage. Do not fear the whispers. Do not tremble at the threats. Do not shrink before the opposition. Because the one who called you is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And if He is for you, who can be against you? If this word pierced your heart, if it awakened the fire within you, I want you to seal it right now in the comments. Write with faith. God defends His chosen. Let the declaration echo across the nations. Let it be a banner lifted in the face of every enemy, a proclamation that you are not alone. You are defended by heaven itself. Like this video, as a prophetic act of agreement, share it so that more chosen ones will rise in strength. Subscribe and remain connected, because every word released here is fuel for your destiny. And never forget, you are untouchable because the Lord fights for you. Stand tall, chosen one. Your life is proof that God's justice never fails. Your story is not over, it is just beginning. And the world will see that those who touch a chosen touch the very heart of God. The very first punishment does not strike from the outside, it strikes from within. It does not begin with a storm in the sky or with doors closing in the natural world. It begins in the invisible realm of the heart. When someone dares to hate, persecute, or curse a chosen one of God, they think they are simply targeting flesh and blood. They think they are just attacking a man, a woman, a voice. But in truth, they are touching something sacred. They are laying hands on what belongs to God Himself. And the very first consequence unleashed is not visible to the eyes of men, but it is unbearable to the soul. It is spiritual dryness, a famine that no bread can satisfy, a thirst that no water can quench. Their spirit becomes like a tree that still shows green leaves on the outside, but whose roots are silently rotting beneath the soil. They smile in public, but tears burn them in secret. They boast in front of others, but when the night comes, they collapse under the weight of an emptiness they cannot explain. They may carry titles, influence, or wealth, but none of it fills the hollow echo inside their chest. The same void they tried to cast upon the chosen one falls back upon them, doubled. No pleasure satisfies them, no recognition can heal the wound. Their heart becomes a cavern of echoes, every attempt to escape only amplifying the sound of their own despair. And make no mistake, this is not coincidence. This is not psychology. This is the finger of God pressing upon them, the silent decree of heaven manifesting with force. Touch not my anointed, and do my prophets no harm. This dryness is only the first step, the opening gate of judgment. From here, the path grows darker, heavier, unavoidable. And yet, chosen one, you must see the power of this truth. Your enemies dry up from the inside long before their downfall is visible outside. That is how God protects you and how He marks them. If this word is awakening your spirit right now, don't just watch in silence. Seal your agreement with heaven. Hit the like button as a sign that you stand with the chosen. Subscribe if you haven't yet, so you never miss what God is revealing in this hour. And comment 99 below, because 99 represents the flock that the shepherd leaves to rescue the one. By writing it, you declare, I am the one God rescued. I am the one He protects. I am untouchable under His covering. This is your first act of faith today, and heaven takes notice. Punishment 2. The visible ruin. After the invisible drought within the soul comes something even more devastating, the collapse of the visible. What was once hidden in silence now bursts into the open, undeniable and inescapable. Suddenly, projects that looked unshakable begin to crumble. Plans that once advanced with momentum freeze as if an unseen hand slammed every door shut. Resources that once flowed with ease dry up like rivers in a scorching desert. This is no accident. This is not mere misfortune. It is the hand of God deliberately removing His support. Because when someone dares to rise against a chosen one, they are rising against the very shield of heaven. And when God removes His backing, no human effort, no wealth, no influence can stand. Think of Goliath, towering, armed, trained for war. He mocked David as if he were mocking a child. Yet in that instant, his destiny was already sealed. With a single stone, in full view of the army, his strength collapsed and his fall was public. That is the pattern of divine justice. When an enemy rises against the chosen one, their downfall is not quiet. It is exposed, undeniable, and remembered by everyone who watches. This punishment of visible ruin carries a profound message. It is God showing the world that His chosen are never left defenseless. The persecutor may look victorious for a moment. They may laugh, they may boast, but the ruin that follows comes swiftly and in a way that strips away every illusion of power. A business collapses overnight. A career that seemed unstoppable suddenly shatters. Influence evaporates. Their reputation, once carefully built, is dragged into the mud by their own failures. And people begin to whisper, not out of gossip, but out of awe. Surely the hand of God is against them. And here lies the mystery. The chosen one doesn't need to fight for this exposure. They don't need to defend their name. They don't need to orchestrate revenge. The downfall of their enemy becomes God's own demonstration. Just as He parted the Red Sea to rescue Israel and then drowned Pharaoh's army in the same waters, He arranges the downfall of those who mock and attack His children. The ruin is always public because it is a testimony. Heaven wants the whole world to see that touching a chosen one is not a private mistake. It is a declaration of war against the Almighty, and no one survives that war. And maybe you, chosen one, have already witnessed this pattern. People who once tried to silence your voice, people who schemed to erase your worth, people who celebrated your struggles. Later you saw their own steps collapse beneath them. You watched their victories fade into dust. You saw their name lose weight, their influence vanish. And deep down, you knew it was not you who fought. It was God Himself turning the tables. This is why the punishment of visible ruin is so frightening. Because it cannot be hidden. It cannot be explained away. It comes like a thunderclap in clear skies, and it leaves everyone trembling at the evidence of divine justice. And when the enemy's ruin is revealed, it does not only destroy their achievements, it becomes the stage upon which God elevates the chosen. The contrast becomes too sharp to ignore. While one collapses, the other stands. While one is silenced, the other speaks louder. While one fades, the other shines. But let me warn you, this is only the second punishment. The path of divine justice does not end here. Once the ruin becomes visible, once the mask is torn and the downfall is undeniable, a new and heavier punishment begins to unfold. It touches something even more precious than wealth, influence, or status. Something no one expects to lose until it's already gone. Chosen one. The story is only beginning, and what comes next is even more terrifying. Stay with me, because the next revelation will shake you to the core. Punishment 3. The isolation. When visible ruin has shaken the foundations of their life, there comes a punishment that cuts even deeper than the loss of wealth, reputation, or opportunity. It is the punishment of isolation. This is where the walls that once seemed fortified begin to collapse from within. Bonds that appeared unbreakable start to fracture. Alliances dissolve without explanation, and friendships that once offered comfort vanish like smoke in the wind. The persecutor, who once stood surrounded by allies and voices of agreement, suddenly discovers themselves in a desert of loneliness. It is not merely solitude, it is divine isolation, allowed and orchestrated by the very hand of God. They may still have people around them, but no one truly remains. The conversations turn hollow, the laughter grows false, and the connections that once felt strong now carry the cold weight of betrayal. One by one, masks fall. God Himself permits the cutting of ties, because He knows that those who reject His chosen also reject His presence, and the absence of God's presence always leads to the absence of true companionship. The persecutor begins to taste the bitter fruit of abandonment. They feel unseen in the very places where they were once admired. They feel ignored in the circles where they were once celebrated. The desert closes in, and silence becomes their only companion. This punishment is subtle at first. At the beginning, they may not even notice it. They still have followers. They still have people who clap for them. They still receive calls. But underneath, loyalty is dissolving. The trust of their closest ones starts to fade, and betrayal creeps closer. God allows the alliances they built in pride and malice to disintegrate, until finally the persecutor realizes they are standing alone. It is a torment unlike any other, because human beings are designed to crave connection, and when God removes it, no effort can replace it. Think about Saul, once surrounded by armies, celebrated as king, supported by many. Yet when he lifted his hand against David, the chosen of God, his circle shrank. The prophet withdrew. His own son Jonathan sided with David. His soldiers grew weary of following him. And Saul, though seated on a throne, became a man tormented by loneliness. That is the essence of this punishment. It is possible to be surrounded by thousands and yet feel completely abandoned, because the presence of God is no longer with you, and this loneliness is not only external, it penetrates the soul. They may lie in bed surrounded by luxuries, But they feel an emptiness colder than stone. They may stand on stages, but feel unseen. They may post their laughter, but it is hollow. The very silence they once wished upon the chosen turns back upon them, louder and heavier than they imagined. God makes it so that no voice satisfies, no friend remains, no comfort is real. Chosen one, maybe you have witnessed this with your own eyes. People who once mocked your walk, who once rallied others against you, who seemed untouchable in their alliances, suddenly reduced to walking alone. They are left with shadows for company, and with silence that eats at them in the night. This is no accident. It is divine justice in motion. But do not think this is the final stage. Isolation, as cruel as it is only preparation for something greater. Because when a persecutor is stripped of companionship, when they are left to wander in their desert, something even more humiliating begins to unfold. The exposure does not remain hidden in their solitude. God makes it public. What comes next is heavier, sharper, and more terrifying, because it touches their name, their image, their pride. Chosen one, stay here, because the next revelation will reveal a punishment that no enemy of God's anointed can escape. And when it arrives, there will be no place to hide. Punishment 4. The public dishonor. If the loneliness of isolation was already unbearable, what follows pierces even deeper, because now it is no longer a hidden torment. God himself pulls back the curtain and exposes the persecutor before everyone. This is the punishment of public dishonor, and it is one of the most terrifying stages of divine justice. For while emptiness can be concealed behind a smile, and loneliness can be hidden behind a crowd, dishonor cannot be disguised. It is undeniable, irreversible, and unforgettable. When God decides to expose, no secret remains buried. What they plotted in the dark comes into the light of day. The whispers they thought no one heard become the very evidence that condemns them. The lies they built to destroy others collapse upon their own heads. The masks they wore for years shatter in front of the very people they once deceived. And suddenly, the persecutor who once looked powerful, respected, untouchable, stands uncovered, weak, and disgraced. It is here that the irony of divine justice becomes most visible. Consider Haman in the book of Esther. He built gallows to destroy Mordecai, the chosen one of God. Yet in the end it was Haman himself who was hanged upon the very gallows he prepared. That is the law of dishonor. Every trap set for the chosen becomes the grave of the one who dug it. Every false story told returns as shame upon the storyteller. Every weapon raised becomes the evidence of their own defeat. And when this dishonor comes, it is not silent. It is not private. God makes sure that it happens publicly, so that no one doubts who is truly in control. Their reputation crumbles in full view. Their name, once spoken with admiration, is now whispered with pity, with disgust, with fear. The same lips that mocked the chosen now carry the story of their downfall. The same people who clapped for their victories now shake their heads at their shame. And this humiliation is not temporary, it marks them. Because reputations once shattered are like glass on stone. They can never be restored to what they were. Why does God allow this? Because he wants the world to see that touching a chosen one is never without consequence. He allows the dishonor to be visible, undeniable, and permanent, so that everyone around knows. This is what happens when you rise against my anointed. He writes the story of disgrace so clearly that no one can rewrite it. And chosen one, let this truth sink deep. You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to run after those who lied about you. You don't need to fight to clear your name. God himself takes the role of judge, and when he acts, he does it so openly that the world becomes witness. Your silence becomes your strength, because your enemy's exposure speaks louder than any words you could ever say. But do not think this punishment is the end. Public dishonor is brutal, but it is only the fourth step. The road of judgment goes further still. After the shame, after the collapse of their reputation, after the loss of trust, there comes an even heavier blow, one that strikes not only their name, but the very fruit of their labor, the outcome of their hands. What good is a person's life if everything they touch turns to dust? That, chosen one, is where the next revelation takes us. The punishment of sterility, the drying up of every effort. And once that begins, no enemy of God's chosen can escape its grip. Stay with me, because what comes next is devastating. Punishment 5. The sterility of their efforts. If public dishonor stripped them of their name, this next punishment strikes at something even more painful: their ability to produce, to build, to create results. This is the punishment of sterility, the drying up of their efforts. And it is a crueler blow because it disguises itself as hope at first. The persecutor keeps moving, keeps working, keeps planning, convinced that their determination will lead them to victory. But no matter how much they invest, no matter how much energy they pour out, nothing prospers. It is like sowing seeds into cracked, sun-scorched soil. Every drop of sweat wasted, every expectation crushed. The soil will not respond because the hand of God has closed the cycle of productivity. This sterility is not laziness, it is not incompetence, it is judgment. God allows their efforts to become empty, their dreams to stay suspended, their goals to wither before their eyes. They can water the ground with money, with connections, with influence, but the seed will not sprout. They can labor from dawn until dusk, but at the end of the day, they return with hands that are still empty. The chosen do not even need to lift a finger for this to happen. It is heaven itself standing against the persecutor. Think of Cain, cursed to labor over the earth, and yet watch it refuse to yield its strength, or Pharaoh, who pursued Israel with all his might, only to see his army swallowed by the Red Sea. This is the essence of sterility: effort without fruit, work without reward, power without outcome. The persecutor may still have resources, but every attempt slips through their fingers like sand. They may still have strength, but it accomplishes nothing. They may still have ambition, but it leads them nowhere. And this sterility torments the soul because it does not arrive all at once. At first, it looks like a delay. They think, maybe next season will bring the breakthrough. Maybe the next deal, the next project, the next plan will succeed. But season after season passes, and the harvest never comes. They keep running, but the finish line moves further away. They keep climbing, but the mountain grows steeper, until finally, frustration consumes them. They cannot admit it, but they feel it, the invisible wall of God's resistance. And here lies the most frightening part. While they labor in vain, the chosen one flourishes. While their ground produces thorns, your ground produces fruit. While their hands stay empty, yours overflow with abundance from heaven. The contrast becomes undeniable. and it gnaws at them, driving their envy into madness. They realize that the very person they tried to destroy is prospering while they are sinking, and yet they cannot stop the cycle because God Himself has locked the soil against them. Chosen one, you must see the brilliance of this punishment. God doesn't need to strike with fire from heaven to show His justice. Sometimes all He does is close the womb of productivity. He says, "No more." And the persecutor spends a lifetime running in circles, exhausted, bitter, unable to change the outcome. Their greatest torment is not the effort, it is the emptiness of the result. But remember, sterility is not the final blow. It is only the stage that prepares for something even heavier. Because after years of pouring themselves out only to reap nothing, there comes a moment when what they planted in hatred begins to return in full measure. The law of heaven declares it, "Whatever a man sows, that he shall also reap." And what comes back is not silence, not emptiness, but a harvest. A bitter harvest they cannot escape. Stay here, because the next punishment is the one that reveals just how terrifying divine justice can become. Punishment 6. The bitter harvest. There is a law written in eternity, unbreakable, unchanging, and unavoidable. Whatsoever a man sows, that shall he also reap. It is not an opinion. It is not a suggestion. It is a decree from heaven itself. And when someone dares to sow hatred, envy, and persecution against a chosen one of God, they set into motion a law that no power in the universe can stop. Their harvest will come, and it will not be gentle. It will not be sweet. It will be bitter. So bitter that every moment of joy they once knew will taste like ash in their mouth. Every curse they spoke returns to them like an echo multiplied. Every stone they hurled against you comes back as an avalanche, crushing their own ground. Every trap they dug becomes the pit where they stumble. This is the divine balance of justice. Nothing sown in wickedness escapes the harvest. If they tried to steal your peace, they wake every morning in torment, unable to rest, unable to breathe without anxiety. If they tried to close your doors, theirs are slammed shut with force they cannot resist. If they spread lies against your name, those same lies circle back and strangle their own reputation. It is as though the very seeds they threw into the soil of hatred have grown into poisonous trees whose fruit they themselves must now eat. This bitter harvest comes with precision. God does not need to invent punishments out of nowhere. He simply allows them to taste the fruit of their own planting. And this is what makes it so devastating. They cannot claim injustice. They cannot accuse heaven, because deep down they know they are only reaping what they sowed. They see in their own downfall the reflection of their actions. Their pain mirrors the pain they tried to cause. Their loss mirrors the loss they wished upon others. Their shame mirrors the shame they planned for the chosen. And here lies the brilliance of God's justice. While their harvest is bitter, yours is abundant. While they taste poison, you taste sweetness. While they choke on the fruit of their own hatred, you flourish in the blessings of favor and protection. The contrast becomes undeniable, and it drives them deeper into despair. Because nothing is more humiliating than watching the one you tried to destroy rise higher while you sink under the weight of your own actions. But the harvest is not only external, it seeps into their spirit. They feel hunted by their own choices. Every time they look over their shoulder, they see the shadow of what they did returning to claim them. They realize that there is no escaping this law. You cannot plant thorns and expect roses. You cannot sow venom and expect honey. And the terrifying part is this: the harvest does not return equal, it returns multiplied. What they gave out in hatred comes back to them magnified in pain. Chosen one, this is why you must never fear what your enemies say or do. Their words are seeds, and seeds always return. They may laugh today, but their harvest is already growing beneath the surface, waiting for its appointed season. And when it arrives, it will not be quiet. It will not be hidden. It will manifest in ways they cannot deny. But do not think this bitter harvest is the final stop. It is only the 6th punishment, and there is still one more, the most terrifying of all. Because if someone refuses to repent even after emptiness, ruin, isolation, dishonor, sterility, and the harvest of their own hatred, there comes a moment when God Himself rises from His throne and delivers the final judgment. And when that judgment falls, there is no escape, no reversal, no second chance. Stay here, because what is about to be revealed will shake you to your core. Punishment 7, the final judgment. Every punishment up to this point, dryness, ruin, isolation, dishonor, sterility, the bitter harvest, was only preparation. Each stage was a warning, a divine opportunity for repentance, a chance to turn back before it was too late. But when the persecutor hardens their heart, when they continue to rage against the chosen despite every sign, there comes a moment so dreadful that words tremble to describe it. It is the last punishment, the heaviest, the most terrifying of them all, falling into the hands of the living God. This judgment is not like the others. The earlier punishments still allowed space to breathe, to reflect, to repent. But the final judgment is the closing of the book, the sealing of the decree, the voice of God rising in thunder. Enough. And when that word is spoken from heaven,
there is no power in earth, no angel in heaven, no demon in hell that can reverse it. The persecutor is no longer wrestling with consequences. They are now standing before the throne of the Almighty. Here, the soul discovers the greatest terror
of all, not the loss of wealth, not the collapse of reputation, not even the harvest of pain, but the absence of God's presence forever. Because rejecting a chosen one is not just resisting a human, it is resisting the very God who raised them, who anointed them, who sealed them with His Spirit. And to reject God's chosen is to reject God Himself. That rejection leads to one place: eternal separation. An endless exile from the light. An eternal silence where mercy no longer speaks. Think of Pharaoh, who after plague upon plague still hardened his heart. In the end, it was not just his army that drowned, it was his destiny. Or think of Judas, who walked beside the light of the world yet betrayed Him, and in doing so sealed his own eternity. This is the chilling truth. When someone persistently rises against what God has chosen, they are not merely opposing people, they are opposing eternity itself, and eternity always wins. The final judgment comes in many forms. For some, it looks like every road closing until there is nowhere left to turn. For others, it manifests in a lifetime of wandering, like Israel in the wilderness, but without hope of ever entering the promised land. And for those who refuse to repent until the end, it culminates in the ultimate punishment, eternal condemnation, cut off from the presence of the one who is life itself. No more chances, no more mercy, no more opportunities. It is the heaviest punishment because it does not end. It stretches beyond time into forever. And yet, chosen one, here lies the mystery that should fill your spirit with holy fire. While your enemies are consumed by judgment, you are sustained by grace. While they are separated, you are drawn closer. While they fall into darkness, you walk in light. This contrast is not accidental. It is God's way of showing the universe who belongs to Him. But do not think the story is over. This is the climax. Of judgment, yes, but it is also the opening for something greater. Your vindication, your elevation, your testimony. Because the same God who judges those who oppose you is the God who lifts you in front of nations. And chosen one, the next words you are about to hear are not about the fall of your enemies. They are about the rise of your destiny. Stay here. Because the conclusion will not just inform you, it will ignite something inside you that will never be extinguished.